I'm John Bishop and you're watching the Redmen TV.
Okay, so obviously FA Cup final coming up, Rob. The competition's sort of been devalued, as Dave pointed out earlier. Obviously, the FA have tried their best to fuck it up for everyone by moving the time around and having it being played before the end of the season and what have you. But I mean, from a personal perspective, does the FA Cup still have importance to you?
Yeah, it does. Massive. You can't hide the fact that it is not the same as it used to be, but when you're in it, you're in it. So you can't see the wood for the trees. It's just. I think it does help if you're playing big teams and you have played big teams. It's a bit like the UEFA Cup in 2001 when we were beating big teams to get there, and beating Barca and beating Roma when they were the best Italians. Yeah, I mean, and they were the best. Some of those were actually top of their leagues at the time, and so people can devalue the UEFA Cup, but it doesn't change. Only the fact that we played Alaves in the final slightly drags down the sort of the apparent status of it.
They had every one of their fans' names imprinted in their shirts. That says how big a team Alaves was. Like, you know.
Sam May did that, didn't he? The season ticket holders, their away kit, about 5 years ago.
Fantastic.
But it feels like so much. Lovely stuff.
You've been spending too much time over the water.
I know, I am.
Should we win both these cups? I'd like history to show that to win the League Cup we had to knock out Chelsea and City, and if we do prevail in the FA Cup, that we knocked out United and Chelsea and a half decent Everton and a not shit Stoke either.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dave, what's your favourite sort of what does the FA Cup mean to you?
The rush goal where he knocks over the camera. That's the most iconic
swivel on a sixpence and stick it in the bottom corner.
86,
yeah.
89 was that?
No,
that was
89 was the one where he's on his knees and he's past Southall. But yeah, it's one of the most iconic goals in English football history.
I mean, let's not be funny, because obviously we would much rather be contesting the Champions League final this season.
No doubt.
But let's face it, Liverpool entered 3 competitions at the start of this season, and we've won one, we're in the final of another, and
we're still in the other one as well.
We're still in the other one. It's not gone so well. But no, the FA Cup is pretty much, I mean, the biggest competition we were going to be able to win this season.
Yeah, of course. I think, going back to what it means to me as a kid, I was playing FA Cup finals growing up, or even with you, do you know what I mean? 14 years old, I'm running around the park like that. Yes, I've just scored the winner in the FA Cup against Paul again. Cause
what's more worrying is that I didn't know Chris when we were 14, so we were actually 17. Swinging cans of Carlin and playing FA Cup in Caldy's Bar.
Well, I was high. It was a long time ago.
Did you have a footy game when you were kids called Wembley?
Yeah.
So I was brought up in that London. We had Wembley, which just says in its own right. And
Wembley
Wembley only meant the FA Cup.
Well, there was 2 fellas we were talking to in queuing up for the final tickets, and obviously there was the Wembley footy, wasn't there? Back out, was that more? I think it was more your era, wasn't it? Was it a plastic footy or something?
Yeah, that's right. Was it one of the orange shops?
We had shoots, which were just made of like Tesco bags, and Flay was true as well.
£5 for £1, and you.
Yeah. Oh yes,
Towie them in the Ronaldo-esque, like.
I mean, look. On a serious note, though, Rob, obviously the FA Cup final is still, it's one of the biggest televised games around the world as well. It still carries with it a certain level of prestige as well.
This is what we're not told here. Because somebody was telling me, I want to harken about the UEFA Cup again, that the UEFA Cup's taken much more seriously in Europe than it's taken here. We're just not necessarily aware of what the status is around the world. And I was thinking about, people go, you've got to finish 4th because of the Champions League. Even if you look at it and forget sport and glory and why we all sport football for the frigging money sake of it and the Champions League, surely getting to Wembley twice in cup finals has a worldwide cachet. That finishing 4th. Imagine this season we got knocked out 3rd and 4th rounds and we got 4th. What kind of season would that? Or 5th even. We narrowly missed out.
You look at Arsenal at the Emirates. You look around the ground. They've got every year they've got the trophy that they've won that year. You're not telling me that this year they're going to have finished 4th.
Open top bus tour for finishing fucking 5th, like, you know what I mean?
You can't measure it though, that's the problem, can you, winning the cup? You can't measure what it means outside of this country, whereas Champions League you do actually get a lump sum of cash.
I think it is the best cup competition in the world, in so much that it's not seeded. It's not fixed as much as we know anyway, FA. not going there. But you know, it's literally it's a genuine. It's got that, and it's still got the magic that people go on about. Fact of the matter is, if you play for a Sunday League team, you can get into the FA Cup. Yeah. And although it's never going to happen, it's possible technically for you to get to an FA Cup final, and it has that sort of story that goes with it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this earlier. Say you get in the Champions League, it's quite possible you're just one of those teams like Lille or Werder Bremen who go out in the last 16 or just don't edge through the group stage. It's not a given. I'd rather be contesting quarterfinals and semi-finals of the FA Cup than just be in the Champions League for its own sake.
Yeah.
It's many layers to it. And I remember at the beginning of the season, it annoys me about a lot of Liverpool fans out there, fellow Liverpool fans, but a lot of us said at the beginning of the season, we won the Champions League, silverware would be brilliant, and surely you take silverware ahead of the Champions League. Seriously, just the League Cup maybe not. But now it's all been rewritten by, I feel, a certain section of our support, like, it's just not good enough, it's entry level.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, when you've got the biggest broadcaster of like league football and they don't have the right to the FA Cup, they're not going to prioritise it in terms of the coverage. It's I mean, they've got Sky don't have an interest in like kind of making a big deal out of winning the FA Cup.
It's true, isn't it? And of course they've got to upsell the Champions League because that's where they spend the money, and the Premier League and what have you. It is a bit. Have you noticed actually? I was about to leap into a criticism of ESPN's coverage because no one's got it. But have you seen they're actually having a full day? They're starting it from 8 o'clock in the morning. They're bringing back the FA Cup final day, and it's a shame.
It's even longer now.
It's a shame that BBC aren't doing something like that, because that was the whole thing.
It was brilliant that when I was a kid. I was telling my boy Danny about this. We were never in cup finals when I was a child. We were winning leagues and European Cups. We were never in, and there wasn't as much media coverage, so you just didn't see your team on telly or getting that kind of sort of profile you get now. So you'd watch other teams on cup final day, and they'd have their players interviewed at Breckie. There'd be their goals of the season, and
you'd see them leaving the hotel outside of London and everything. You
plant yourself in front of the telly, even though it was Ipswich Arsenal or whatever the final was in 81 or 80, and go, oh my God! And all I'd be thinking is, imagine the day we're in the bloody final, and all this will happen for us. Except the only problem is when you are in the final, you're going, so you miss all that out anyway.
That's true. Yeah,
But still, if ESPN are doing it all day, are they?
They are indeed. I mean, I realise now we're going to stop talking about this because I don't get any benefits. Don't get any benefits unless ESPN people are watching and they want some help next season.
Anyway. Beat them out or something.
Chris, I mean, we something was touched upon there. Something Rob was saying about like this mentality of Liverpool fans. So the Champions League is so important to fans, maybe outside of the country or maybe outside of the city and stuff. But for you, if Liverpool being in an FA Cup final, we've won the Carling Cup, it's still league form. Put that to one side. It's still a pretty decent season if we come home with two trophies at the end of it, isn't it?
It's a bloody good season, yeah. As you said a minute ago, we entered 3 competitions, and if we can win 2 of them, in what world is that a bad season? Just take the blinkers off.
Even if we lose, quite frankly. Now, to get to 2 finals.
I think, to be honest, and I don't know what you think of this. I'll go to you on it first, Dave. Is that Dalglish's position is going to be under scrutiny come the end of the season, regardless, I think, of whether we win the FA Cup. I think it'll be under less scrutiny if we win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But the league form can't be ignored, and I think that we do need an FA to win this to a certain extent to paper over some of the cracks.
Well, people have been saying he's going to be moved upstairs.
Disagree.
What do you want?
I want him to stay. You
as manager?
Yeah. What can you give him off one season, and we've got to 2 cup finals?
A mate of mine said the other day, and I totally agree with you, and he said, I said, what do you think about Kenny's position? And he was going, he was just much more loyalist than I was. He goes, this is the world gone mad. Have people not forgotten where this club was and how it changed in January of 2011 when he came back in? He said it was like the light being switched on again. He said, I don't give a fuck. He said, I'd rather go down with Kenny than us just be ripping it up and starting again. I don't care who you talk about. That man is the soul of this club. There's Bill Shankly and there's him. And that's really defines this football club,
I think it's Chris, obviously it's the nature of football these days, isn't it? People want instant results, and of course, again, you've got a massive Liverpool fan base who are watching games on streams, and they're watching them on foreign satellite and stuff, and they're maybe not getting the feeling of being around the city, or they haven't got the support, they haven't got the dads and the granddads who've indoctrinated them in that way into like what is the Liverpool way, so to speak. And do you think that's it's born of that sort of lack of knowledge, that this criticism?
A lack of knowledge and people being able to voice their opinions very easily nowadays. You know, social media especially gives everybody a platform to spout off, whether you go to the game or you sit and watch one game a year. You've got somewhere that you can put your voice across. And you know, let's be honest, it's all about money. Sky, people in the newspapers and journalists, they're all going to turn a story whenever they can, and the easiest way to do that is by drawing drama when there is on. And I think Kenny's fallen foul of it.
Well, it was something you had Ollie Holt on the Anfield Wrap, didn't you? The Mirror journalist who was public enemy #1 around Liverpool's online fan base for a while, but he basically said that as much, didn't he? He said that you've got to sensationalise to a certain extent because you're competing with bloggers and Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he said, you know, it's a difficult position being in print journalism. I mean, he was public enemy #1 for Liverpool fans. He was a very nice guy, but that's the problem. You forget we are just talking about football a lot of the time, and he's just a very nice guy. And the story, I may totally disagree with everything he says about his situations, but he was a nice man in the story.
But it's obviously, I mean, I think the idea is people forget, Dave, that we've got in football. You can't just have one season. If we've maybe not got the longevity or patience for a 5-year plan, 2 or 3 years is what you need just to see what a manager's made of. He needs to be given the opportunity to put things right.
I think you go back to the first game of the season, Sunderland, and everyone expected Couch to start after the way he finished. I fully expected Morales to start given the way he finished the season, and both on the bench, both brought on when we're trying to save the game, which means we've got Enrique, like literally bought about 48 hours before, Henderson starting, Adams starting, because I think wasn't Lucas, he'd been playing in the Copa America.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like you're talking 4 important players in a new team, and whenever you hear anything about football at any level, you hear, oh, it takes time to build a team, or this team's been going for a couple of years. And you look at Chelsea now; those are players who've been playing together for a number of years. And when the back's against the wall, or as someone said today, stapled against the wall when John Terry kicks the fella in the back, you know, they know the players who've been there a while know what to do. They know what's expected of them, and they do it.
Yeah. And you look at that team, 2005. You know, that the backbone of that Chelsea side has remained pretty much the same for the last 7 years, and you can't say that about Liverpool.
How many of those players were in the Carling Cup final in 2005?
Yeah, you're talking Czech, Terry, Essien, Drogba, if nothing else.
Cole.
Yeah, Ashley Cole will have been in there. They're still the bulk of their team, isn't it, Chris? You know, and they've had that consistency, whereas Liverpool haven't. Or we've had to have our rebuild, or we've had to sell on players when maybe we shouldn't have done, and so on. Agree?
Definitely agree, of course. I wish we had the same side, but you know, Kenny's got a different philosophy than Rafa had, and obviously a different philosophy to Hodgson, thank fuck. But the players, obviously, you know, you're saying we've got 4 new players on the first game of the season. We're playing a completely different way to how Rafa had us set up, and the large part of our team was built by Rafa and played a certain way. It was all about being in position and what you do in certain situations, and Kenny gives them a lot more freedom, and that will take time in itself just to get used to.
I think as well, I mean, we've discussed this, and we're not going to get into Liverpool's transfer policy now, that's for the end of the season discussion, but he's a confidence team, he's a confidence manager. He tells players, he believes in players, and he trusts them to go out there and do their jobs. Now, it's been highlighted again on the Anfield Wrap that we perhaps don't have the most intelligent of footballing players. I mean, but you know, let's look at the attacking talents, for example. You know, the likes of Arsenal have got, Man City have got, United have got. It's definitely an area where we are lacking by comparison to those teams above us. So when you say to people, go and do what you want to fucking do, it helps when you've got 4 world-class attacking players on the pitch.
I don't know, we're playing catch-up with those teams and have been. You know, we were asset stripped or whatever during the Hicks-Gillett era, whilst they maintained a certain level and maintained being Champions League level teams. I'm not sure that the Kenny philosophy is that simple that we just go and do it. I just think there is a tendency to caricature managers that way. The Rafa is all about tactics and not about motivation and man management, and Kenny's all about man management and tub thumping, but no tactical nous whatsoever. And our players are stupid. Yeah, they're stupid when they lose, but they look very intelligent when they beat Norwich 3-0. They look composed and they look like a plan.
Their centre halves didn't.
Yeah, no, I know. So you look tactically sophisticated when you win and score goals and don't concede, and you look like idiots when you don't. I mean, everyone's a tactical genius now. On their couches.
It's true.
It's really hard to understand it.